Hello everybody and welcome to a brand new Gentech PC product showcase. Today we're going to be doing the full-length feature review of the brand new Asus Republic of Gamers Zephyrus. This is the smallest, thinnest, most powerful gaming laptop out there that has the nVidia GTX 1080. Now we're going to kickstart today's review, and we've already got everything unboxed for you, so we can start right off in presentation mode. 360-degree turn just to give you a quick look at how everything looks. Now this isn't the fanciest, flashiest gaming laptop out there. It's a very basic design, very squared off, somewhat reminiscent of a MacBook Pro, but it does have all of the stuff that counts inside. Moving over to the scales, we said it was light, so here you go, 4 pounds and 15 ounces for the weight of the laptop. Of course, you're going to be traveling with your power adapter as well, so let's throw that on the scale. Included in the box, not only do we have the power adapter, but also a wrist rest and our network adapter. It would put everything on the scale. We have 7 pounds and 6 ounces as the total carry weight. That is a featherweight amount of weight for a gaming laptop like this. Now for a closer look at that power adapter, 19.5 volts and 11.8 amps gives you 230 watts of power. Nice rounded off power adapter, not very big, so easy to fit into a bag. And to put measurements in perspective, here is the coins, a quarter and a penny, and of course a ruler. As you can see, we have a nice flat profile laptop, well under an inch, close to 3/4 of an inch on the rear side, and the front measuring pretty much exactly the same. One interesting thing is that once you lift up the lid to help get the cooling into the laptop, it actually lifts the back of the laptop off, simulating a wedge shape once you actually open it and use it. Moving on with our tour, here we are with the system powered up, opened up, and ready to take a look at. Starting from the top down, we have our integrated HD webcam and integrated microphones. A very, very nice screen. The resolution is 1920 by 1080p. Does have a 120 Hz refresh rate with the nVidia G-Sync technology also included. The laptop design is a little bit unique. You have the status LEDs to the rear rather than the front, which actually makes them a little bit easier to see. And you have a lot of flat space there where it's not being used because of all the components inside. On the far right hand side, we have the touchpad with separated left and right click buttons, and that doubles as your number pad once you activate it. Lots of options in our software. You can launch that by hotkey. Also, if you take a closer look at the keyboard, you'll notice that it is a low profile chiclet style with the backlighting. This looks like one of the Asus standard backlighting keyboards where you have fixed colors, but this is a full RGB keyboard that you can control the backlighting on. Here is one of your bonus items, the wrist rest that's included with the laptop. It helps offset the fact that the keyboard is so far forward that there's not a place to rest your wrist on the laptop body. So this gives you a place to rest your hands for ergonomics, and of course is actually much more comfortable than being on the hard plastic or aluminum body anyways. Back to the touring mode, it's time to go look at the interfaces along the perimeter of the laptop. Starting on the far left side, we have our DC power adapter jack, the HDMI output, 2 USB 3.0 ports, and our 3.5mm audio connection. Also, while we're taking a look at the rear of the laptop, it's a perfect time to show you the self-lifting rear stand. So when the laptop is open, the rear stand comes out of the laptop, and when it's closed, it's recessed. So this gives you a great way to have the traditional wedge shape where the rear of the laptop is a little bit higher than the front without forcing the laptop to always be thicker on one side for putting it into a bag. So you get great portability. It keeps the laptop very low profile and flat when you're traveling with it, but you still get the ergonomics of a slanted laptop when you're actually using it. Now as we finish to the rear side here for looking at the interfaces, there is no connections on the rear side, just the exhaust vents for the cooling system. Moving to our final side for interfaces, over to the right we have a USB 3.1 Type-C Thunderbolt port, aka mini display port, two USB 3.0 ports, and the Kensington lock port. Now, since the laptop is not thick enough to have a traditional RJ45 connection for your local wired networking, they include that adapter. So you use one USB port for the RJ45 if and when you need it, but of course most of the time for laptops you might be using your wireless connections. So in summary about the interfaces, being that it's a super thin laptop, we don't fit full-size ports like VGA and the RJ45 on there, but we have plenty of USB 3 ports that are easily accessible on both sides, and we have the mini display port / Thunderbolt port that can be adapted to pretty much any kind of display. Alright, we've covered the outside of the laptop. Let's start moving into the laptop and looking at some of our software. So right now we have the control software that lets us change all of our keyboard settings. We do have a few standard presets that are obviously tailored for gamers, but you can go in and customize anything to any color combination you'd really like. Time to move on to the next part of the review. Here we are in our device manager looking at all of our hardware. As you can see, it does have the nVidia GTX 1080 Max Q Edition and the Core i7 7700HQ. 16 gigabytes of RAM standard. The monitor panel ID, if you want to go look that up on the internet. The resolution on that is 1920 by 1080p. It's a very, very nice panel. It doesn't have as many pixels as some other monitors have, but what it brings you is very high quality, including really great view angles. And of course that does work at 120 Hz and it syncs up with the nVidia G-Sync technology. Before we start loading up our system with all the benchmarks, it's very important to first get our controlled readings. So our current ambient temperature for the CPU has it at about high 50, low 60 degrees Celsius, and the GPU, as you can see down below, is at currently 44 degrees Celsius. Also, other control variables to get is going to be our current noise levels. So here is a noise meter right next to the exhaust at the loudest possible part. So these are the worst case scenarios. Once we get the system under load, we'll come back and retake our temperatures and our sound levels and see how much they've changed. And our last control is going to be the visual marking of our temperatures. So here we are with an infrared thermometer. As you can see, very nice temperatures all throughout the laptop, currently at the idle state. Usually some of the most important things to look for with the temperatures is to make sure that anywhere you're going to be touching the laptop with your hands doesn't get uncomfortably hot and cause sweaty palms. Since you're going to be using the wrist rest with this laptop, you won't actually have your hands resting on it, so that won't be a problem. The other thing we want to see is that most of the heat is being released from the laptop by the exhaust. So we should see some fairly high numbers here at the exhaust, especially once we kick on the benchmarks. So we're off to the races, and it's time to start things off with 3D Mark Firestrike. So while we're running the benchmark, it's time to go back and get those sound readings again. As you can see, they did go up quite a bit, and that's to be expected because we are now loading that system with some really intense benchmarks. Now these numbers by themselves aren't incredibly useful. The best thing to do is to check out a couple of reviews from us and see how other laptops have compared. If this is higher, then you know this might be a little bit of a louder laptop, and if it's lower, it's a fairly quiet running laptop. So now it's time to go back and also check those temperatures again. Now as you can see, so far the temperatures on the computer have not really gone up that much. The only area that really got hotter was that center area right where the exhaust is at, and that's exactly what you want to see. That means the computer is getting all the heat from the system, focusing it in that one spot and then getting rid of it. Of course, the real test will be once we finish the benchmark and we go look at our temperature reports on the GPU and the CPU, and then we'll really see if the cooling system is working as well as it should be. And here is another angle of that rear exhaust. As you can see, that red intense glow, definitely the highest temperature is focusing right there. "3D Mark Firestrike" has finished, and we've got our final score. We're checking in with a score of 13,469. That's pretty good for a laptop that's this thin and this light. Now the temperature is checked in at 90 degrees Celsius on our CPU, the very highest core reaching at 92 degrees Celsius, and the GPU did better than that at 68 degrees Celsius. Not wasting any time, we're going to move right on to the next benchmark. So now we're running Cinebench R15. So this is a predefined benchmark. It'll run this scene and it'll give us our frames per second and a CPU score. The scores came in at 105.11 frames per second on OpenGL, and our CPU got a 737 score. It shows our ranking at 105.11 being the highest on that OpenGL chart, and our CPU ranked in about the center. We still have a few more tests to run, and the next thing is going to be to show you how loud the sound system will get. With our benchmarking section complete, we're actually moving into the last part of our review now, which is going to be the disassembly of the laptop. So we do have a large bottom bay panel that we're going to take off, and there's actually a screwdriver included with the laptop so you can do that. So here is our included screwdriver. So obviously if they give you the screwdriver in the box, this is supposed to be available for you as a user to take open. However, what you're going to find once you remove this panel is not going to be access to your RAM and your video card and all those other components. It's access to the cooling fans. So once you remove the 4 screws to hold the panel on, just lift it up and we'll see that we have access to those cooling fans. And the rest of it's a pretty flat surface hiding the motherboard underneath. Now Asus was smart to give you access to these because of course these systems need to be clean to run well, especially in a very compact system like this. So they want to make sure you have access to it so you can blow these fans out and keep the system running properly. So of course by now you know for the sake of review we're not going to stop there and we're going to take it all the way apart. So for that we needed to get a T6 torque driver that is not included with the laptop and remove many small screws. Now once you've removed all the screws from down below, the top panel will lift off and we get access to our motherboard area. Now be very careful, the keyboard will be attached by a ribbon cable and we don't want to snag and rip anything. There is honestly not a whole lot of things underneath of the panel that you would actually want to get access to. We have the RAM slots already occupied, we have the M2 SATA slot already occupied, and we have the tops of the fans that we don't really need since we can get to the bottom of the fans. Now one thing to keep in mind is if by any chance the default specs on the laptop don't meet your requirements, you can't upgrade the laptop through our store during the ordering process, and we'll take the laptop apart for you, do the upgrades, and have it covered under warranty. If you were to do it on your own as a brand new laptop, you could void the warranty, and you wouldn't want to do that until it's at least fallen out of its warranty period. So now that we're coming to the end of our review, it's time to summarize the Asus Zephyrus. This is a product that is definitely tailored for somebody who's looking for a high-end gaming machine, with the highest focus being on the fact that it's very thin, lightweight, and portable. So if that's what you're on the market for, then definitely take a closer look at this laptop because it might be just what you're looking for. Now that our review video is coming to an end, we just want to take a moment to say thank you very much for taking the time to watch our video. We hope that you genuinely enjoyed it and that you found it entertaining and educational, and that it was able to answer any questions you might have had about this laptop. Of course, if you still have more questions we want you to ask us, feel free to go down to the comments section down below and ask those questions so we can answer them for you. Or if you need one-on-one help that's personalized, then feel free to contact us by phone or email. Also, real quick before you click away, don't forget to take a moment to go into the video description and find the product page link and give that a click so you can go view the product page that has the current pricing and availability, as well as the full system specs so you can get all the details on this laptop. So once again, we just want to remind you that this was Gen Tech PC, and we'll see you next time.